Hey, Sabrina here, and welcome to another video about property. This channel is perfect for those who are new in property, who want to understand what steps to take to get started, what strategies there are out there, or those who are already in property and wanting to take things to the next level. Now, today's video is all about rent to rent. It's about getting started. This is an active video. This video is about taking steps to get you on your journey, and I'm hoping that you will learn at least one or two things that you can do to start making money in property today. Or if you're already in rent to rent and just getting started, when I say just getting started, you're a little bit further on down the lane and you're making sure that you're just doing things the right way, this video will be perfect for you. Stay tuned. So let me just get Now, I'm just going to go straight into it. I'm not necessarily going to number these steps because they are in no particular order. These are just the steps that I took that got me started and making money within a reasonable amount of time. So I'd say at least within a month, I took these steps, quickly established a business, and I got my first property within a month. But it's a lot of this, whilst I can give you these steps, a lot of it is about taking action. I mean, I can give you steps all day long, but if you actually don't act on these steps, then you will not secure your first house. So whilst you're listening to these steps, also remember that a lot of this is activity work. It's a lot of active work. It's a lot of mindset. It's a lot of mental state, mentality, believing in yourself, and not necessarily allowing any second thoughts to come in and change your mind about whether you can do it or not, because you've got to make the decision you can do it, and it really is about just getting started. That's core in watching this video and getting started, is that completely cut that little section off in your brain that's feeding you the nonsense. Cut off the nonsense, listen to the steps, and take action without thinking. Okay, that's the way to do it. Is die or survive. So let's get started. For those of you who do not know what a rent-to-rent is a property that you take on from a landlord on a long-term guaranteed rental basis, and then you manage the property, managing it, dividing it up into individual lets. So for example, you can rent it out onto 6 people individually and make money that way. Now, I don't know if I've described that well. I'm still learning how to describe strategy, because there are simple ways that you can describe it, but I'm a little bit complicated, okay? So you're gonna bear with me. But rent to rent isn't just about taking on one property and chopping it all up to create 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 people in it to make money. You can also take on 1-bedroom flat or a 2-bedroom flat and rent it out on a short-term let, running it as a hotel, which they called serviced accommodation, and making just as much or if not more money. So the rent-to-rent process is merely taking on a property on a rental basis and managing that property and making money off of that property by you then renting it on to someone else, whether it be a long-term basis or a short-term let basis. It'll be renting on to someone else. That's key, and that's rent-to-rent in its most simplest format. I just complicated a little bit just with that explanation, but bear with me. So the first thing I did was I registered a company. I chose a company name, which took forever. Choose a company name, and then once you're happy and satisfied with it, go onto company's house and register the company. It's about £13. The process takes 24 hours. It could be even quicker if you want same-day service. And once you get your certificate or your registration, your company number, you are all set up and ready to go. Now, with starting a rent-to-rent company, there are some legalities and formalities to follow, and it does depend on where you are as to what legalities and formalities you have to follow. So the next best thing you would do, or I did, is find out what my legalities were. What happens if I'm setting myself up as, say, a lettings agency? What do I then have to do? So the first thing I had to do was register with an ICO, and that's all around data protection and data handling. I got some insurance, because you have to be insured to be a letting agent. You're not necessarily a letting agency, but you're operating as one. So you want to follow the protocols of a letting agency. So I set up some insurance. I registered with the property ombudsman, and I registered with a property regis scheme. I said a regis scheme. Did you hear me? A redress scheme. I hope I said that right. I don't even know. But yes, a property regis scheme. So those are the 4 fundamental things you've got to do to be legal within operating in rent to rent. Okay, so now we got that out the way. Now the fun begins. Okay, so you've registered the company, you've got the legality sorted. Now it's time to get your website up and running, get some business cards going, and start presenting yourself in a professional manner. Now, I do want to highlight those things are not key and they're not fundamental, because I got my first rent to rent without any business card, without any website. I literally walked into a letting agency, presented myself very well, and told them exactly what I wanted to do. And they were happy with that. They were quite happy with that. I didn't need a business card. I didn't need any of that. They just wanted to know that I know what I'm doing. They had the company name. They'd probably done their own checks on the company. We were new. I've just recently started newly again in my new location. It is a new company, and therefore, there's an element of can I trust this person? Can I trust this person? But I think if you present yourself very well and you know what you're talking about, i.e. you've done research, you've got some form of education, or if you have a little bit of experience, maybe being a landlord or working with someone who's got some experience, then you would have an idea of what the process entails, and therefore would be able to then run the company successfully or properly, efficiently. So you can get the website set up and get some business cards, but again, it's not essential. The second thing I done, or the third thing, I'm not even numbering these. I'm not going to number these because I'm going to lose count. What I then did is I went out and done some research. I didn't go anywhere. Sorry, I done some research. I got on my computer and done some research about location. In that research, I was looking at what areas are best for room rents. Where are the popular areas? What areas where people are looking to let rooms? It's very busy areas, very vibrant areas, very popular areas. We also had a look at the council websites to see whether there were any Article 4s, or to see whether there were strict HMO standards. So like, for example, when I got started in Croydon some time ago, they had 2 different types of land licensing. They had the standard licensing that generally everyone would have had to have got, which is 5 or more people over 3 or more floors. But they also then had the mandatory license, which meant 2 or more people on 1 floor required licensing. And that was really annoying because we were just getting started. I absolutely loved Croydon. It was on my doorstep, and couldn't do it there because their licensing was strict. So any 4-bedroom houses, 5-bedroom houses, 6-bedroom houses we were looking at, couldn't even move with them. So then my research made me realize I can't go into Croydon. I'm based in South Wales, Swansea at the moment, and there's certain areas within Swansea that have the similar licensing. However, in fact, you need licensing for any HMO here. If you're buying a house and you're turning it into HMO, you got to go through planning as well. But that's a whole nother topic, and I'll talk about that another time in another video. But that's the next thing I did. I done research to find out where's the best place to do rent to rent, where works, and where not only does it where works, where can I get a 4-bedroom house? Because I was trying to do HMOs of 6 rooms, 7 rooms, 8 rooms. So finding a house that rents for a certain amount, which would then allow me then to rent it on and get a good profit margin, was essential. So if I'm looking at a 4-bedroom house where they want £3,000, and a 4-bedroom house only produces 5 rooms, and each of those rooms let at £500 a month, that's not going to produce me anything, because I'm already paying £3,000 to the landlord and I'm only bringing in 2,500. It doesn't work. So you've got to know your numbers, know what house brings in what, so then you can ensure you're making money on the house. That's fundamental, because what you don't want to do is take on a burden. So you do your research, find out exactly what the rental prices are as well, what bedroom prices are going for again, and what house prices are going for. That's really fundamental. Another thing I've done is, after setting up the company and doing a bit of research, at the same time go to the bank and establish a new bank account for the business. That's important because you need to be able to transact in that bank account. All your expenses should start coming soon. You have the cost of setting up the company, the cost of all these legalities and formalities, and then you're going to be driving up and down a lot. So you want to make sure that your company account is set up, ready for you to start trading. As well as that, you want to look at an accountant. What kind of accountant are you going to use? Whether it's chartered, whether it's just a normal accountant, are you going to have a bookkeeper? These are the kind of things you want to establish ahead of time before you actually start trading. So you're not, you don't want it to be messy and it runs through your account, and then you're trying to separate your expenses from the business expenses via a personal account, because it can be tricky and it can be a bit messy. So the best way to do it is to, once you've set up the company, set up your business banking as well, so you're ready to go. When I'm saying business accounts, I mean business banking, your business banking accounts. Get those set up and established so all your transactions, all your financial transactions can go through one account, nice and easy, so the end of year accounts is simple to do. The next thing you also want to do is make sure you have some money. Make sure you have some money and you're ready to go as soon as opportunity becomes available. If you have money already, then that's great. Setting up a rent to rent, it differs. The amount you spend differs depending on what location you're setting a rent to rent up in. So I recently taken on a rent to rent. It was 6 bedrooms with the front room, a kitchen and 2 bathrooms. /3 because I had a separate WC, and I'm only paying £1,000 a month for that house. Then I put £1,000 deposit. I spent about £2,000 on doing up the house. So all in all, it was about £4,000 approximately. However, in London, I've spent up to £6,000. I've spent up to £6,000 in London setting up a rent to rent. I've actually spent more than that setting up a rent to rent, and that was when I took on a house that needed a bit more work. So it all depends on how much work the house needs, and what kind of standard you're trying to attain for the house, what kind of standard you're offering to the market. And that's another thing that you want to do in your research that you do ahead of time, is knowing what kind of product you're delivering to the market, so you then know how much money to spend and how to present that property so it goes off the market quickly, so it just flies off. Because you don't want your property sitting around, you don't want your room sitting around, because each day your rooms are sitting around, you're losing. So it's my objective to get those rooms let out as quickly as possible without any vacancies, with minimal vacancies, minimal. So now let's have a little quick backtrack. You've set up the business, you've got the assurances in place, you've got your business cards, your website, you've done all your research, so you now know what location you're going to go in, you know what prices you need to take these properties on for, because you now know what prices the rooms are going to let for, and you have a lot more clarity on what this business is going to look like, or what this business is looking like. You've set up your business accounts, and you're pretty much now ready to go and start making money. Make sure you have some money in place to secure a property as soon as one comes available, because one thing you really don't want to do is start looking for houses, secure one, and then you've got to go and run around and find the money. Some people do that and it works really well for them, but it depends on what your motivations are. Some people like certainty, some people can bear with uncertainty. Know yourself, because one thing you don't want to do is go out there and look a damn fool by securing a property and then can't find anyone to help you to take it on, whether meaning you need the finances or you simply just don't have the know-how, right? And these videos are really good for that, because they'll teach you how to do certain things. You can read about managing a property, but you really don't know about it until it's time to manage a property. So you can work with someone who has that experience, which works really well, or you can read some books and gain some education and allow this to be your first experience. But it's really good to network, meet people who are in the field, and then you can kind of go and visit their properties and then ask some questions about how it's going. But make sure you have some money. If you don't have money and you like this strategy and still want to get started, you have the time to start up your rent to rent, then why don't you educate yourself, become the person who has the time and has the know-how, and then look for someone who can fund that business opportunity with you, and you become partners. So everything that you would have established, they can either just lend you the money and you then say, I'll give it back to you, on a fixed interest rate, or they can come in on the business as a shareholder, doesn't necessarily have to be a director, but could come in as a shareholder and then own the business with you, and you both can transact that way. This is one thing I do love about property, or any opportunity for that matter, is sometimes when you're shortfall, or when you have a shortfall on one side, then equip yourself and put yourself in a position where you then become an asset to an opportunity. That's very important. Try and position yourself so you can become an asset to an opportunity. So now you're set up and you're ready to go. The next thing you do is go and visit letting agents. Before you go and visit letting agents, I would have a quick look online, right? And I'm very organized. I love to be organized. Not everyone's as organized as me, but I like to find all the agents in the particular area that my investment area is in. Some of them, if you had a wide area, some of them you would then have, agents clustered, which is even better, because the more agents the better, right? So I'd list all those agents, and if they're clustered, then separate them into sections 1, 2, 3, 4. And if they're all on one high street for your area, then you just have one. And then I would go and visit those websites just to see what kind of stuff they have on the market, because sometimes there were two approaches that I took when I went to go and visit agents. One was I would go in and completely have no idea what's on their books, and then say, hey, do you have anything available? 3 bedrooms, 2 receptions, fit in this criteria. I need it for corporate lets for employees. I have. Or I'm a relocation agency and I need 3 bedroom, 2 reception properties. Do you have any available? And then I'd let them tell me. But the other thing I then did was I looked on their website, and I would go in and then say, hey, I noticed you have this 3 bedroom, 2 reception property. Is it still available? They'll say no, or they'll say yes. If they say yes, I say, great, can I view it? And if they say no, I'll say, great, do you have anything like that currently on the books, or on your books, or currently like that available at the moment? And then they will then tell me. So I would, shop around all the letting agents and let them know you, start building relationships with them, and make it a thing to visit them regularly. I wouldn't say too often, maybe once every other month, because too often becomes like, oh, you're back again. It depends on where you're from. I mean, where I'm staying at the moment, where I live at the moment, if I went every month, there's not enough footfall for me to be going every single month and then like, oh my God, hey, I haven't seen you in ages. It's not as busy like that around here. However, in London, every month might be sensible, right? But personally, I would say every other month, just to keep a gap, just to keep a gap. But then again, it does depend on how fast you want to grow the business and how quickly you want to build relationships as well. So it depends on many different things. But I'd say every other month is a good amount of time. It gives them time to miss you. Gives you time to bring in gifts and say, hey, I was just popping by, I had some chocolates, here you go. Do you have anything available on the market at the moment? But do the chocolate thing once you've got a relationship, not just randomly, because then it looks like you're just trying to beg friend, and sometimes it's like, that doesn't always go down well. It doesn't. So when you go into an agency and you find a property that works for both of you, meaning they're happy to do the long-term let, the landlord's happy, the next step would be to book in the property and check it out. Go there, check it out, price the rooms as you go around, and see if the layout and the structure of the property works for you and what you want to do. If it works, great. Start talking about deposit straight away. Start talking about what you need in order to take on the property. If it doesn't work, say no, and tell them why it doesn't work, and then it gives them a chance for you to then explain what does work, particularly while you're in the property, so they really get a good idea of what they should be looking for when they're presenting a property for you. If there's any renovation costs, that's fine. You can take care of those costs. You would then include that in the discounting of the rent that you might be asking for. So some landlords, like I viewed one recently, and this landlord had mismatch wood everywhere. And I was thinking to myself, are you really presenting this house to me as a really nice house? And he's very serious, look, it's perfect, it's nice, it's beautiful, you got to have it. And I'm saying, yeah, it's really nice, but I got to be honest with you, I'm looking for the high market tenancies. So this product would, I would need to spend some money on this. I'd need to make sure that color wood matches this color wood, if you know what I mean. And he understood what I was trying to do, and in fact, it ended up giving him ideas, and he ended up doing it. That's another thing. Don't talk too much of your damn business, because they just can take the idea and run with it. So if you're going to do renovation, that's fine. Price it up. get an idea of those costs, and then, you know, if you're going to have it on a long-term basis, that's okay, but make sure you factor it into your costs, your initial outlay costs, so you can see when you're going to make your money back. Ideally, I try to make my money back within the first 6 to 9 months of of renting the property. However, if it takes a year and then I've got it on a 5-year contract, then I don't mind doing a year. If in 4 years, if I've got 4 years worth of profits coming my way, I'm quite happy to do that. Once you have agreed all the financial aspects, the next step is to get the process started with the letting agency. So they're going to do their referencing. They might ask for this, they might ask for that. If you're with those low-key agents where it's just like 1 or 2 guys like working in an office, then they are perfect because they don't ask for anything. All you've got to do is pay up front and you're good to go. But some agencies are a lot more rigid. They want first deposit, they want deposits, they want guarantors sometimes, they want proof of bank statements, so proof of income, they want to see the company registration, insurance. So I've had to do both of those processes, and they're both fine if you're established. But if you're new, it can be more challenging to prove all of that. So again, you either want to maybe offer paying double the amount of deposit if you're not able to show those years worth of accounts that they might want to see, or just go with a smaller agency who won't ask for all of that stuff. So, or if you're, you know, if you or your partner's earning that income, then you can use yourselves as guarantors by saying this is the income that we make on a personal level in our full-time job or in our other business, or however, wherever you make the money, and that should usually work for you fine as well. So that's something that you can that may be asked for. So you've done all that, and now you've got the keys to the property. It's so exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, this day is just amazing. Now I remember the first time I got my first rent to rent, you might see it here, and I absolutely was happy. I mean, it's you just can't imagine it. You just can't imagine it. So now you've got your keys to the first rent to rent. This is where the work begins. You thought all that was work, and now it's time to get started, honey. So first things first is go into the property and give it a good clean. If it needs a renovation, do your renovation. If it doesn't need a renovation and it's just time to spruce it up and get things going, get your get your bedding in, get your furniture in, then go and get started with that right away, because ideally you want this all done within the first week, because the aim is to let that property out within the first month. Some people do it before they even take on the house. Perfect. But I've always done it within the first month. Again, I like, you know, I like to pace myself sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I like to pace myself sometimes. I don't be like, oh my God, I got the keys and it's all laid out. And I don't do that. But what I did do is I had renovated within a quick period of time, so I then can go and do that, because I want to ensure that I'm presenting the product with all the pictures and presenting it the way it looks, how it's going to be realistically. So if I'm going to have blue bedding in there when I present it to them for them to let, then I want to get the blue bedding in there, not present them a whole nother room and then say, you know, this is going to be a room, because I've noticed that doesn't go down too well, trust me. So start renovate the property if there's going to be a minor renovation, painting, you know, flooring, bedding, furniture, and if not, and it's already good to go, then present the room, get it nice, and get some really good pictures up on a website. Use websites like Spare Room, Gumtree, get it up on the websites, get it all up and ready to go, and start vetting any inquiries that are coming in. So the people who come in, you want to make sure you're asking them the most important questions, such as, are you working at the moment? Where are you working? How long are you looking to let for? What kind of tenancy are you looking for? Short-term let, long-term let. If you're doing a rent to rent on the basis where it's a short-term accommodation, a service accommodation, then you want to get it up on all your websites, booking.com, Airbnb, and you want to get your management equipment in place, your channel managers in place for all of that as well, for management. You also want to, oh, I've missed a bit, you want to make sure you get your cleaner. Your cleaner is going to be amazing. She's going to give you she's going to just make life easy for you. So make sure you get your cleaner on board as well, because you want to be offering cleaning services in your properties, whether it's long-term let or short-term let. You want to make sure you have a nice cleaner in there, because they're going to be your eyes and your ears for the property. They might even do your fire checks when you need to go around as well, which is fantastic. But they'll make sure that the tenants are doing what they're supposed to do and keeping the property held up to the standard that you want to achieve or that you are achieving. So make sure you find a really good cleaner. And if you want to do, you can also do that checklist where she signs it every time she comes in as well, just to make sure that someone is coming in. So that's really good. One thing I do as well is I have a head of household, and that's someone who's in the house and they're responsible for all the other tenants. So whenever there's an issue, they report to her and then she reports to me. I'm so happy that I've got a tenant who has OCD. I'm telling you now, if you can find someone who has OCD, oh my God, you will love them. I love her. Sometimes I literally am just like, you know what, don't, just £10 off for you this month. £10 off for you. I just get a little card. 10% off for you this month because you've done fantastic. And you know what? It actually makes them happy. Make sure you're sending birthday cards as well. That's very important. Birthday cards, they love that. It's just the small things. It's just the small things that build the relationship with the tenants. They make you, they respect you. Then it builds a great relationship. It builds a great relationship with them when you guys are operating like that. Once you've chosen your tenants, then you want to vet them. You want to go through a strict referencing process. I use Rent for Sure, which is great, and Open Rent also, they have that option for you to do your referencing through them. And you know, if they pass, great. If they don't pass and you want to ask for some guarantors, or you don't take them on it at all. If you're doing service accommodation, you don't need to do any form of guarantors, but you still do need to have your agreements in place. So don't just do service accommodation and not have no agreement. They still got to sign for something because they're still responsible for something. That's how I do it anyway. So then once you have vetted the tenant and they move in on check-in day, you meet them at the property and then you check them in. There's a long process, and I might do a video on those processes to check in the tenant, but you then do your check-ins with the tenant and make sure they're settled in and they know the processes for management and they know the processes when it comes to checking out. They also need to know the processes for when it comes to paying rent. Be very strict on that. And what I do is I put that all in a very clear welcome letter, so they know exactly what to expect during the tenancy, how to manage the property if there's any issues, and what to do when it's time to move out in terms of giving notices and so forth. As well as that, you want to make sure, but this is why it's essential to ensure you have your bank account set up, because when the tenant moves in, you want to make sure they set up a standing order so the money can start going in. Because I also have it that all the tenants pay on the 1st of the month, and I also make sure that I'm paying the landlord on the 1st of the month. So on the 2nd and the 3rd of the month, I have a very clear picture of what the business looks like and how much money it's making, and which that does tend to go up and down. Okay, depending on certain things, depending on whether there's a vacancy, whether we've got a changeover, you know, or whether a changeover between short-term accommodations, that does go up and down. But you just want to make sure that there's a kind of a system in place so you can get a snapshot of your business quite quickly. I love snapshots. I like organization. I love paperwork. I love knowing things, factual information as quickly as possible, so I know what we need to do. For us with the long-term lets and short-term lets, everything's included. So all the bills are included in the rent. Everything's included, so there's no additional cost. The only additional cost there is in the house is the tumble dryer, and I've got a coin machine for that because it costs a lot of money. And people have that on all night, right? I've been to the house and it's just ongoing, and I'm like, are you serious? So I put a coin machine right upon that thing there, and now you gotta pay. But that's okay, because it allows us to make a little bit more money in certain circumstances, but on the most part, it allows us to offer toilet paper in the property, washing up liquid, and washing powder. And I think the tenants value that quite a lot. So that is an additional service that we can offer that kind of almost starts putting you up in another bit of a higher bracket, if that makes sense. The facilities that you offer are quite good. So you want to make sure that you're offering some kind of service that the tenants would love. So I think that's it. I mean, that's pretty much it. Once you've done that, you do the last process with all the tenants, get them in, make sure you've set up your outgoings as well, set up your bills, set up all your bills, your water, your gas and electric, TV licensing, I think that's it. Telephone, well, you don't need telephone. Some people do Netflix and all of that. I don't do Netflix and all of that. But, you know, you can add up, make sure all your bills and your utilities are set up. So you're paying your bills, you're paying a landlord, paying all your company expenses, and then you've got your rental income coming in, and you get to see the profit margin then, and it's nice and clear. Once you've established all of that, the next thing is just to grow the business, go and look for more properties, continue doing the letting agency walkarounds, continue building the relationships with them, make phone calls every now and then, and just rinse and repeat. Keep networking, because you see landlords everywhere at different places, so you always want to keep networking, and just just getting out there and really building the business that way. I hoped that this video has helped you understand what it takes to set up your rent to rent, what you need to consider to set up your rent to rent. You may have some questions, and if you do, please fire away. I'm doing these videos just so I can share some information on what I did to get started, because sometimes you can't always get out the house and go to networking events to find out, and sometimes you don't always want to go and get an education straight away, which I think you should. I think it's good to get an education. I think it's good to understand exactly what the process entails, and really get it from an overall, not only just an overall perspective, but a really intricate perspective as well, really getting to understand the details, the dynamics of what's expected and what it takes to set up a business. I release videos twice a week, so be sure to stay tuned and look out for any more videos that's on this topic. Again, this channel really is about all property, and it's only all property that I have done. You know, so I look at buy-to-lets, I look at HMOs, project management, and rent-to-rents fundamentally, but I also do look at what the money game's all about and some motivation, because property is not necessarily the most easiest business to run. It can be very challenging. You have days where you want to you're just waking up feeling like Superman or Superwoman, and then 3 or 4 days later you're thinking, you know, I don't even know this is for me. I don't even know if I even want to do this. And that's real. So I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and make it seem like everything's beautiful, because it does have challenging days. If you liked this video, then please be sure to press like. If you like learning about property and seeing what other strategies there are out there, then please subscribe to this channel. It will be perfect for you. I've got a video all on about the different strategies about property and the 5 most common strategies available right now. So you can see this video and click it here. And I think that this channel is really going to be good for you if you really do want to know how to get started and want to take this thing seriously. Because that's what I did. I want to take this thing seriously. I haven't got no time to waste, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, it was lovely talking with you today. I hope you've learned something, and I will see you at the top. Bye.